So in this video, I wanted to give you an experience of doing the body scan, much like the ones that I lead people through in my practice. And I think it's a very important way to not only be embodied in the moment, but also cultivate over time the ability to sense more and more of our body sensations and also the cues that our body can begin to tell us about what's needed in the moment to harmonize a physical need, a mental, emotional need. We can start to hear and attend to those cues coming from deeper, even unconscious layers of ourselves as we embody, as we develop the facility to hear, to sense the body at more and more subtle levels. And this is how we begin. We begin by having a practice of tuning into that. And so I want to give you that nutshell of a practice in this moment so that you can have it. And this is a very basic body scan, so I want to take you through it. It should just take a few moments. So find a seated position that's comfortable to you, preferably without your legs crossed. I'm going to uncross my legs right now. Preferably on top of your sits bones. So, if really where you're comfortable is kind of in a comfortable kind of position, start there. Over time, if you're able to kind of sit up and elevate a little bit better, a little bit straighter on the pelvis, feel free to do so as it becomes comfortable. But start where you are. That's really important, right? Because we want to know what's true, what's present in the moment at the level of the most basic evidence of what our body's telling us about ourselves, our environment, etc. In this body scan, which will begin in the moment, I'll be asking you to stay with what's true about the moment. I'll be taking you through different parts of the body, asking you to notice if you have a sensation in an area, if it's a strong sensation, perhaps it's a new, surprising sensation, or maybe it's familiar, or maybe it's something that's very hard to identify. In this exercise, we're really just concerned with, do we feel something, and roughly what type? There is a value to what the mind wants to immediately do with that information. The mind is really used to taking over. As soon as we feel something, it will immediately label, mask it with an interpretation, with a story, an association, a history. Oh, this is where I da-da-da, this is what it is, this is what's related, da-da-da. All the story, the interpretation will naturally want to come in as our habit pattern. That has its own value, and I'd actually like to talk about that at some time. But for now, there is the most basic place to start, and that is to help us distinguish that from what the actual information is. So as you're moving through different parts of your body, just mentally make a check note. Is there a sensation? Yes, no, if so, roughly what type, strong, weak, new, familiar, does it have a name? You don't have to even worry about remembering it, but just try to be in touch with the sensation itself. So let's begin to bring ourselves into the chair as we start to turn our attention to the interior territory of our bodies. Have your eyes closed, if possible. We're going to be starting at the top of the head. I'll be moving my arms, but keep your eyes closed. Just start at the top of the head, anything you might feel at the top of the head. We're going to move forward into the forehead and brow area, temples, eyes, the nose, the cheeks, the mouth, including the interior portion of the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, chin and jaw. Starting from the top of the head again, this time we'll move along both right and left sides of the brain, of the cranium, as we move down into and around the area of our ears. Starting from the top of the head, this time moving backward, inching down along the back wall of the skull, and all the way down to the base of the neck. We're going to move into the cylinder of the neck and throat, noticing what sensations you have there, whether it's subtle or gross. And moving now into the top of the upper body, up to the shoulders, the arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, thumbs, fingers, and maybe today you might feel the tips of your fingers. From the top of the upper body, this time we're going to move forward along the area of the collarbones, and the whole area of the chest, and the front of the rib cage, where the lungs hug the heart. Moving down through the area of the diaphragm, you might notice here the movement of the rising and falling of the breath as the diaphragm pushes against our abdominal cavity to allow air to come in. And now into the whole area of the belly. From the top of the body, this time moving back, down along the cervical and thoracic spine, noticing shoulder blades, whole mid-back and back of the rib cage, moving down into the whole of the low back. We're going to move now into the bowl of the pelvis, which hold the lower organs, the pelvic floor, the tailbone, and the sits bones. And we're going to move out to the hips, moving down the thighs, knees, shins and calves, moving down into the area of our ankles. You might feel the weight of our feet onto the floor, onto the bottoms of our feet, the heels, the arches, the whole of each foot, toes and toe tips. Now our ability to feel sensations in all of these areas, they come and go. We do not have the capacity to force a sensation. We are actually not in control of the sensations. The sensations are information from these places, but they are not those places themselves. They are messages from the nervous system. And as we're sitting in this place, see to what extent in this moment you have the capacity to feel the evidence that you have a whole body. What is that sensation that may tell you in this moment that you have a whole body? Now that we've checked into all these places, it's a wonderful time to ask yourself, from the place of checking in, is there a word or two to describe how you might like to feel? Is there a longing that you're sensing at the level of sensation? And this would be a great place to inquiry more about, to explore more in body work, or to perhaps journal about. That would be a great trailhead as you begin any type of personal exploration or body work or counseling. Anyway, that's the body scan in a nutshell, and I wish you the best.